Okay, so if you notice, Photoshop docks these things into the bigger window. Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this cloud one and I'm just going to pull the tab off. This is how I usually do it. So if I pull the tab off, it's free of that window. But if I want to put it back, if you look, see how it highlights right there, and I can put it back in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Could you repeat that again, please? I'm sorry.
I can't hear you.
Could you repeat that, please?
If I want to pull a tab, here's my two tabs, the two images I have.
Right.
If I want to release them from the dock, I just grab this and pull it off.
Out of the, okay.
Out of the dock, and then I can go like this and see it'll gets that outline around it, and it'll go back into the dock. So I just have to hover back into the square. The reason I'm doing that is usually when I'm going to move one image to another, I just pull it out and drop it in. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go to my move tool, which is just Command V. And I just dragged it in there. Now I'm going to probably make this a little too, and then I'm just going to shut this one. I don't need it right now. But what I want to do is I want to go, I'm going to unlock. So I want to pull this behind this, but this is a background layer. Again, that's always locked. So I'm just going to click the little lock and unlock it. And I'm going to pull this cloud thing behind it. Okay. And now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go to my opacity on this layer and I'm going to drop it down so I can see the clouds. And only because, and I'm going to click that layer and go Command T. If you guys remember, that just grabs it and gives me my handles. And I'm just going to move this cloud where it's somewhere like maybe like that. And I'm going to make it a little bigger. So let's just do it like, let's do it like that. Now I'm going to go back to my layer. And I'm going to make this 100% again. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and it's going to make more sense as I move here. Okay, as I move through this. So what I think I'm going to try and do is do this quick. I'll do a couple of things. And then I'm going to give you guys about a 20-minute break so you can go off and do it. So I don't have to wait a whole nother class to keep going. But anyway, I'll go through it. So in your layers palette, so we've talked about this, the adjustment layers. And now we've talked about this makes a new layer. This deletes a layer. And then this is just something later. Okay, so right here, it says add layer mask. So I'm on this image on the top, and I'm going to go click that. And here's the layer mask. See that little white square?
Right.
Now, here's the other thing you got to do to set this up correctly. You got to go to your tools right here. And if I click this little thing here, we've talked about this, this will just default them back to pure white and pure black. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then if I want to bring the black forward, I can click here or I can just go X. And I want the black in front. You know,
Okay,
now I'm on this. Go ahead.
Is that for painting or what is that for exactly?
You're going to paint in and out.
Oh, and changing like the black and white changes.
In this exercise, the only thing you're going to need to do is keep that at black and white. And I'll show you right now why. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to take my brush. And then just like before, here's my brushes. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to my standard brushes and I picked a soft round. Okay. And then I'm going to go, I want it a little bigger. So I'm going to go to my right bracket or I can go up here. Oops, up here, you know, make it bigger or smaller right here. I pulled the hardness all the way to soft. And then I'm going to go right here. And if you see my opacity is now at 22%, I don't want this at 100%. I want it, let's try 61%. And now it's on my brush is on black. Okay. And I'm going to start painting this out. And I'm going, I want a little less. I don't want to pull that much out. So I want to pull down the opacity. Now it's getting even softer. Okay. Now, the beauty of this now is if I flip this from, okay, so what does black do? Black paints out the mask. So if you look right here on my mask, see that how it's put a hole in the mask in the white? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, this was totally confusing when I first learned it, but here's how I think of it. I have a piece of paper and I take an X-Acto blade and I cut a mask out of it. I cut a stencil out of it, right? Now I put that on something and I can see through it correctly or correct?
It is the same effect that the deleting a fragment of
It's deleting the mask.
a mask.
It's deleting that. So just think of this as a white sheet of paper over something and you're just cutting, a window to look through it. Does that make sense? Like a stencil.
Can you switch to white to see like what the opposite?
Yes. So if you switch to white, here's what's going to happen. And this is the beauty of it. Let's leave this on so you can probably see it in real time. So if I switch this to white, it paints the mask back in.
Okay, I see what it does now.
Watch, if I go take out the whole thing, you can see it over here. It's going away.
Yeah.
So you're just painting in and out. What you have to get out of your mind is that you are erasing. You're not erasing. Okay. And the beauty of it is this is another example of non-destructive editing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So if we combine this now, let's see if we can do this because I just grabbed a couple of images. But here's the other thing. When you're doing this, sometimes you'll go, I'm on my layer, and now it's doing something weird. See what it's doing? That's because now I'm just painting black. Why? Because I'm clicked on the image window right now. I have to be clicked on the mask. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I have to be on the mask. Okay, so let's get rid of this. And let's just see if we can do something with this real quick. Let's open this. Let's open this. Let's open this. Let's open this. I have no idea what I'm doing here, but we'll just see if we can do something. So I'm going to go to, let's see, let's first go to, let's go to this guy. So let's take, not that yet. Let's take maybe this. I'm going to go back to this. And here's your move tool. So I'll just grab that and pull this over. So one of the things they do a lot, and I'm going to unlock this and put it underneath. And then let's do the same thing where I'm going to lower the opacity, see what I got here. So let's put this, oops. This is why I have to pick the layer and go Command T so I can move it. Otherwise it'll pick the top layer. I want to make this smaller maybe. And then let's see if we can put more than one in here. Yeah, maybe this. Okay, now let's take this. I'm just trying to place these things in some interesting way. Now I'm going to take this and just erase some of it out. With a big soft eraser. So I'm going back to my soft thing. And you don't have to remember all this. I'm going to have you do the first thing first, but I just want to show you how you can kind of use it. I'm going to knock back the opacity on my eraser. That's probably good enough. And then I'm going to make my layer mask. And switch this to black. Make sure I got a not 100%. brush. This is on eraser. I got to make sure it's on brush. I'm going to push up the opacity a little bit. And then I'm going to come down here. They do this kind of thing in movie posters constantly. Oops. I want to make sure that's 100. I'm losing a little bit of, I'm going to put a white backer on this because it's showing the transparency, which I don't want. Oops. I don't want that horizon line, so I'm going to kind of keep it down here. You know, then they'll go in our overlays and they'll go, let's just try this for the hell of it. Let's go to like a gold. I have no idea what this will do. I'm going to use our gradient tool here. And then I'm going to go overlay. That's not too bad. And then I could come up here to my adjustments we've talked about with my levels or my hue saturation or my brightness contrast and adjust that. And then just grab this. Find a decent typeface. Make this a different color. Let's just make it white for now. Or maybe even this. Oops, I didn't do it. A lot of times what I do is I assign a color and then I just flip these. You can get in this later. And then this is a little strong, so I'm going to pull it back. And you start getting into your standard movie poster territory. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah?
Yes, I have a question.
Mhm.
Yes, to add another image over this one, you just drop on top of the first.
Whatever you're going to put the mask on to reveal, you're revealing whatever's underneath. So your mask layer has to be above.
Right.
Okay.
The mask is basically adding another layer.
No, it's just adding a mask onto the layer. So here's my layer I started with the old guy.
Like a filter or something.
The mask is on here, is on that
Right.
same layer. Okay. But it's putting the mask over here. So you just got to make, and once you make a mask, it'll default that you're on the mask. So you don't have to worry about it too much. But if it does something weird where it just starts painting on it, make sure you click on the white mask.
Got it.
And then if you wanted to add the idea of selection in here, then we could come in here.
It was you when you were younger?
Yeah, that's me now, man.
Ooh.
Hang on, I'm looking for my tools are set up all screwy. I need to go in and fix them. So I'm just going to take this guy because we've been talking about selection. So I could pin tool this guy out. Go back over here. I just did a Command C, a copy. And now I could add this element in. Here's his arch nemesis. Maybe this is the secondary. This is how they do them, by the way. It's like your level of celebrity means how high you are in it, how big you are in it, and everybody else is a certain ratio in relation to you in star power, okay? And then I'm just going to take this guy and maybe go up to my, I want to make this back up to my hue saturation. Hang on, let's grab, I'm going to adjust this. Let's grab like a nice sepia maybe. I want to go to my hue saturation. Make him monochromatic. You know, and I would put him somewhere, wherever. And there's your standard movie poster, right?
Right.
Selections, layer mask. That's all I just used. That's it, right? Oh, and my hue saturation, and you know, that's it. One of the things that's really nice about layer mask, let me see if I can find this real quick. And I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but because next week we're going to start doing something like this. Okay. Let's find this. But we have to get through our camera exercise first, and then we'll do this. Here. So this. Damn it, it's not on here. Hang on. Shoot. I can't remember my let me check this real quick. How in the hell did this disappear? Hang on. Okay, hang on a sec. This is really annoying.
I guess we have to check the sound because I guess somebody has a radio or something. And
Okay, so if you look at something like this, oops. Okay, so let's look at something like this. One of the things, if you notice in this, and this is my guess on this, one of the things you'll notice in movie posters a lot is they'll have a monochromatic look like this. Now, they might have done this partly because they wanted to really pop that flame out. But my guess with movie posters, the reason you see so, and by the way, can you guys see this? There's a lot of overlay, a lot of probably layer masking. Can you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Like this up here, to me, the smoke totally looks like layer masking. They probably put, you know, got a stock image of some smoke, put it over there and just sort of revealed a little bit of it, and then probably went back in and kind of tweaked it a little bit. They might have even done that with this. And then the smoke even, I mean, there's a lot of ways in here. And then he was cut out and dropped in here. I think one of the reasons why you see, and I'm just using this as the first one I found that has this example. One of the reasons you probably see all this monochromatic work is that when you're working on something like this on the movie, even with a movie poster, because I used to have a teacher, he used to do these, right? He did the Witches of Eastwick. He did a bunch of movie posters. You get a bunch of assets and things from the movie, but they're not going to go, hey, I need to go get a shot of Batman standing in front of a burning building when you guys are, number one, it doesn't exist. Or I need him in front of the Batmobile or something. They're going to go, screw you, man. You think you're going to get a photo shoot? You're not going to get a photo shoot. And by the way, he did get a photo shoot one time. I can't remember the movie, with 2 actors, and I think he said that was the only time he ever did that. He said the actors were such a pain in the ass and were such prima donnas. He's like, screw this. So what he would do is he would, you know, either take a picture of a model, like if he wanted the Tom Hanks is in a movie and he goes, I need Tom Hanks, but I want him holding a gun and hiding behind a whatever. He'd just go shoot somebody with a similar body type and he'd just start compositing his head on there and all that stuff, right? Which is what he started doing. So anyway, you're getting all these assets, and the assets might be that burning building was done in broad daylight or twilight, or in some sort of lighting that's not going to make any sense with Batman because he was shot in a different light. And then the car you want to throw in the background, you want to throw a Batmobile back there in the background. Well, that's in another light. So now you got all these disparate lighting problems. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what's an easy way to solve some of that? You can make it all monochromatic. So now you're not dealing with the quality of light where this is warm light and that's cool light and that's this light and that, because you want to put everything into the same environment. Does that make sense?
Right.
Now, it's also a lot of times just a design tool. Like here, it's probably might just be a design tool, again, because they want to pop that warm cool. But I'd guess that, you guys can probably already see this is pretty simple in a weird way, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of layer masking, monochromatic, probably some overlays. And then however they did this lighting effect, which there's a lot of ways you could do that. I might start off with the layer mask and then come in and start putting flames and things over it and then start, painting them and smudging them out and stuff like that. And then this, again, this probably was a layer mask. Okay, does that all make sense?
Right.
So you can see this world has changed a lot. These used to be hand illustrated, right? By hand, and they were hand painted and all that stuff. And the reason, to me anyway, why movie posters aren't that interesting anymore is they're all Photoshop like this. You know what I mean? And you can see how fast you can just get that kind of effect with it. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I want you guys to do, take the cloud one, the girl. I don't really care what you use, to be honest. Make a layer mask and just use a soft brush, knock down the opacity, and just paint some of it out. That's all I want. I just want to make sure you know how to use that tool. And you can do it right now in real time if your computer's in front of you, right? Which I know it is, but I don't know if you're set up to be able to work in it. Or do you want? Go ahead.
Does it matter where we mask out or no?
No, I don't care. It's not a design thing. I just want to make sure you know how to use that tool before I move on. Okay. Now, is it easier if I just give you guys like 20 minutes and we'll come back and we'll talk about it?
Please.
Okay. So I'll give you guys, it's 11:30 or 11:03. I'll come back at 11:23. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike,
Yeah.
I just came in. I sent you a message on Ponto that I was in Megan's class.
Okay. Is Megan going late every day now?
I don't know actually, but she just went over like a bunch of stuff.
I think you need to tell her that you have another class after hers.
Yeah.
And by the way, you guys, anybody in here, if you have a class right after mine, I won't usually go right to the wire like that. There might be a time where I do if we're talking about something and we're having a good conversation. But if you have another class, like give me a heads up like 10 minutes or so before that and just go, hey, I got another class at, 1:15, and just give me a heads up because I don't actually want to step on other people's classes. I think it's disrespectful to their class. So the same rule applies to me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think you got to have a conversation with her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is it anyway? Who am I talking to?
Chris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys, 20 minutes, just time it 20 minutes and we'll be back in here. Yeah.
Okay.
Will you post the recording?
You mean after class?
Oh, will you be posting it after class?
Uh-huh.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I'll post every class, every class I'll post.
Okay, got it.
Like everything we do, I have it set up to automatically record. Then I just go and edit it real quick and I throw it up. Yeah.
So we're gonna stay on Zoom. We're just gonna be back in 20 minutes, or we're completely like leaving Zoom.
No, I don't care if you leave. I would just shut it off, or
Stay.
you know,
Okay, yeah.
turn off your mic.
Yeah, that
Turn off your mic, turn off your video, and then we'll just pop back on in 20 minutes.
perfect. All right.
Okay. I'll see you in 20 minutes, you guys. And then you can tell me if you had any problems with it. Okay. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about, and I know I'm kind of, other than the layer mask, everything else I'm doing right now is stuff we've already talked about a little bit. Okay. So, and I know you got to get used to it. I get it. But okay. So we talked about this gradient tool right here, right there, right? So right now, if you remember, I have this set up to go color to transparent. So if I grab a gradient, well, I mean, if I grab a color, let's get blue just to change it up. I really don't like the way they did this. Or the way they change this. I want to gray this out a little bit. It's probably still too much. And if I just grab this right now, and right here, I've chosen color to transparent, it's going to do this. I'm going to make a new layer. By the way, let me pull this over to make sure it doesn't get buried. I'm going to get that, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everybody? I just pulled a gradient. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the gradient goes color to transparent. So let's change this. Let's change the setting right here, because this is up in our control bar. We can change it. And it says basics. They put them all in folders now. In this, I don't mind it too much. So basics, and right here, you've got black to white. So now if I change that, what am I going to get? I'm going to get black to white. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's say now that I go, okay, let's get another image, or let's say I get this guy now. I'm going to pull this guy back in again. But I want him to fade from the bottom. Okay. So our layer mask, if we use black, it paints out. And if we use white, it paints back in, correct?
Right.
Samantha? Turn on your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You looked very pained
Yeah.
when I was saying that, but does it make sense?
No, yeah. Sorry. When I concentrate, like my face
Oh,
gets
okay.
like,
I just want to make
yeah.
sure you're okay.
yeah.
Okay, so here's our layer, right? Here's our guy right here. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hit layer mask. Oops, I got to select the layer. I hit layer mask. But now I'm going to go back to my gradient. And what is it set to? Black and white, right? So it's the same thing as my brushes. So I'm going to go click and drag. And the layer mask uses the black and the white of the gradient to pull that, to mask it out. So so you can see it right there. So the black is showing, the white isn't. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Irene?
Yes.
And now if you really want to do the cheesy movie poster thing,
Yeah.
we could go, let's do the last of the cheesy movie poster.
You're kind of loud.
Huh? What?
I think Samantha's lagging, but she thinks that you're lagging. So she was trying to say that it was lagging for her.
How dare you say I'm lagging? Let's go here. I'm going to go back to this. We'll talk about this later. It's really simple, but.
Does it work for other colors too, or is it just black?
If you want to mask out, it's got to be black and white.
Okay.
Oh, it's over here. Hang on. So if I want to add something to this. Let's go spread. Add the outer glow. blah, blah, blah. And you're starting to add all these movie poster cliches in there. Okay. So when you use and here's the other thing we can do with that. So let's look at what else we can do with that. Because you're going to need this for this thing we're going to do. So let's take this guy again. Let's put him into a new document. And look at it automatically created the size of what's in the clipboard, okay? So I'm going to go to my crop tool. I'm going to give this more room. And I'm going to give him, let's put it right here. The only reason I'm going through this is I'm just kind of showing you these simple tools, just different things you can do with them. And then I'll get into my demo for the last thing. Let's say this is a sky back here, but a graphic sky. Oops. Now, look, I got it on black and white, so I'm going to switch it to color to transparent. And then I'm going to make a copy of this guy. I'm going to just go to my move tool. I'm going to go option, drag. Now I'm going to make a layer mask. Go back to my gradient tool. And now I'm going to mask out the reflection. Oops. I screwed up. Let me make a layer mask. Okay. Does that make sense? We're just
that's
masking
really
things
cool.
out. Irene, what?
I said, yeah, it's really cool.
Very simple, right? Okay, so let's look at what I'm going to want you guys to do. And this is the last exercise probably we'll do before we actually do a project. So I gave you guys a picture of a really bad picture of a camera, which of course now has disappeared. Hang on. Oh, here it is. So let's go to this original picture. Now, the reason I picked this is what we're going to do. This is a crappy picture, probably off eBay or something. This person took this picture too close, used a flash. I mean, did everything really you shouldn't do with this. And what I'm going to want you to do is, number one, we're going to click this and unlock this layer. So there it is. It's unlocked. So now I can work on it a little better. And I'm going to want you to go in with your pen tool and get very close in here and get a really nice selection. Oops. And don't worry, I won't make you watch me select the whole thing. Get nice. Look, and I got to go to my option because I want to just do a corner bend. Come down here. And you don't have to worry about getting all these like little perfect things. You can kind of just knock that in like that. I'm fine with that. I don't want to spend that much time on this. And so on and so forth. And I would just go through the whole thing and I would pin tool it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We all know
Yes.
how to do that, correct?
Mhm.
But now we're going to get more precise. Okay. So then what we're going to do, so let's just say I did that, right? And let's just say this is my selection, which it's not, obviously. I would go to my, because that's not a selection yet. I would go to my paths palette and do what?
Control click.
The thumbnail, right?
Yes.
Command click. Boom. And that would make my selection. And then, so let's say that's my selection, but if let's say I have the whole camera selected. If I go okay, I want to delete the background. If I hit this, I'm going to delete the camera. So this is a selection. So we go up to select and we're going to go inverse because that'll select the rest of it. It'll just invert the selection. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, hang on. I want to see which one I've got here. That's not too bad. No, not that one. This is, yeah, this is fine. I'm going to end up with this, correct?
Yep.
Now, one thing, a trick that I do a lot, it's not really a trick, is just to make sure that my selection is pretty good. Because on here, it's deceptive because I've got this pattern thing back there. It's not telling me anything. So sometimes I'll go, well, I always do this. I go up to my swatches. I go to grayscale. I pick a mid-value grayscale like that. Maybe even that. And I just fill a layer underneath it right here. Oops. With gray, because the gray will show me if there's any white fringe or if there's any, you know, anything that I missed in my selection. Okay. So
Mike,
yeah,
how did you apply that gray to layer 2?
the same way we've been doing this stuff where I went edit, fill,
Okay.
and then my foreground color. Because that's what, you know, you're usually working with the foreground
Yes.
color as a default.
Got
Okay.
it. Thank you.
So what that'll show me, and this one's actually fairly clean because I must have cleaned it up already. So let's just take a piece of this because I don't want to select the whole thing. And let's say, because usually it's not going to be totally perfect. Oops. And don't go through it. So let's just say this piece. Let's see what this looks like. What happened? Oh, there it is. Damn my good pen tooling skills. I didn't get it crappy enough. Hang on. What I was going to say is don't do this. This is what a lot of people do. They go like this when they're selecting this stuff. They get the pen tool and they go. So what are you going to get then? You're going to get this jagged geometric edge. That's not the point here. The point, and also like on corners like this is a soft corner. They'll come in here and do what I just said and they'll go bink, bink. That's not a hard edge corner. So you're going to want to come here and get up to the edge of it, maybe come to here, then create that little soft curve. And I'm just going to leave some fringe on here deliberately. So let's do this again. So let's just say that's here. And you can see where I missed this overlay right here, right? So I might just come in here now. I can either go in with my pen tool and clean it up, or I could get an eraser. Remember, we treat our erasers just like a brush. Hang on. It's going to be right here. We can adjust it. I want it a little, oh, that's as big as that goes. That's weird. That's really weird. Hang on.
Your picture
Oh.
is huge.
That's why. I actually made it too big. Just drop it back down. Let's see if I can get it small enough. It's weird to me. It's not showing. There it is. Okay. I had the caps lock hit, so it just gave me the crosshairs. I needed to see the width. And I made it too big. It went off screen. So what I might do is just come in here, get and adjust my eraser because that's a little too soft. I might give it a little more And I might just come in here and just kind of clean that up. So I'm using, I don't want it to be too soft. That's probably, it's a little soft, but that's okay for now. This right here, if this was messed up, I'd come back in with my pen tool. Make sure you adjust the hardness or softness of your brush so everything isn't too soft or too hard edge. Does that make sense? And I just use this for little cleanup things. Another thing that you guys got to remember when you're using your brush, like this is a straight edge, and I'll just do this with a brush so you can see it. If I just do that, I'm not going to get a very straight edge. If I hold shift and drag it, I'm going to get a straight edge. Or if I hold shift and hold it down, I'll get a straight edge. So I use that with my eraser tool right here. I'll click and then click down here and get a nice clean erase. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yes.
So, you know, it's universal. The shift tool, you know, usually you have to hold it to constrain, and we're constraining up and down, or you can do vertically, or you can even do it horizontally, whatever you want. As soon as you click something, hold shift, click somewhere else, it'll make a line that's straight wherever you tell it to go. Okay, so that's that. So we want to get a clean selection like I've got here. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because what we're going to do here is try and make this thing not look so crappy. Okay. Now, we talked a little bit about this where we can go up to edit, transform, and I'm going to use the perspective one this time because this picture, he took it too close, or she, whoever took it. So it's the perspective is just slightly forced. Okay. I think I've already corrected in this one, but I'm going to do it anyway. And in the perspective tool, if I grab a corner, it pinches it like it's in perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just push this up a little so it feels a little better. If you notice, I barely did it, but that's fine. That's all I need. I think in the original one, it's actually worse. It's forced a little bit because they're just too close. Now, when you get up here, the lighting's terrible. This side's blown out, but where I think you should start is, see all this schmutzy crap? Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Now, remember what I
Yeah.
talked about when I said if I make a selection, I can only work inside the selection? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use that. I'm just going to use my polygon lasso tool because I don't need to be super accurate now. I need to be super accurate with my selection of the camera. But now I'm just going to go, I want to clean up this area first. And I want to contain it to this area a little bit. So I just need to put basically I'm using this as a mask now. And then I'm going to grab my, whatever you call it, clone tool. And I'll show you how to do this non-destructively later, but we'll just do it on this layer for now. I've got my clone tool. I went up here. It's not 100% hard edged. It's really soft. So I'm going to go a little less. And then I'm going to go right here. It's already at 29%. So let's try that. I think it probably needs to be a little higher. Why do I do that? Because if I go straight in, it's just going to make too big a statement. I want to build it up. So I'm going to go right next to this because the lighting's the same. Click. And I'm going to start cleaning up this schmutzy stuff. Going back up here, selecting or telling it where I want to grab from. And then I'm going to go right here and just go right along this edge and just clean up that edge a little bit. That's why I have the mask there, so it doesn't start overspraying and getting soft and weird. And that's probably, oops. Let's get a little more up here. And that's probably enough for that. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. It's going to make a simple selection using my polygon tool. Using my polygon tool, why? Because this is basically geometric and I don't need to be psycho accurate with this part, okay? Now I'm gonna do the same thing I just did. I'm gonna grab my clone stamp tool. And I'm picking as close to it as I can so the light stays the same. And I'm just building that up and painting right over it. And look, I have to keep coming over here and make sure I don't start picking up things I don't want to pick up. And I'm starting to clean that up. I'd clean it up a little more, or I might even go in. Let's see if this works. If you guys remember right here, we have our dodge and burn tool. Burn goes a little darker. Let's see if we can
Hey,
do this.
Professor?
Yeah.
Can you just make a layer instead of the polygon tool to clone it? Or
What do you mean a
have
layer?
to-
Say that again.
do you have to, can you just do like a layer and then clone it, or do you have to use the polygon tool?
Well, you want to use the polygon tool to contain it.
Oh, okay, got it.
If I don't do that, then what's going to happen here is this is what's going to happen. This will start getting all sloppy, and I'll start doing things like spilling over into here or up here.
Oh, okay, got it.
And the edge won't be clearly defined. I would still I'd still come over here and go, I'm going to come in. I'm not going to make you guys get psycho with this. I just want to make sure that you know how to use the tools this way. Because I still don't like that schmutz there. But now I might even just go in. I'm going to grab a little bit of the paint, maybe just select that with my brush because it's pretty blown out anyway. And I just want to clean that up a little. And I'd still probably clean it up a little. I might come in here with my burn tool and go click, hit shift, and clean up that little line there a little bit. If I back out, it's not too bad. Okay, and then I would do the same thing here. I'd make a mask. Here, grab my clone tool, get as close to this part I'm trying to clean up as possible, and I just start cleaning this up. This is the same kind of thing you do when they, and I'll show you a bunch of that stuff later, how they clean up photos of people, right? So if you got skin imperfections or blemishes or whatever, they just kind of start knocking that stuff out to make you look perfect. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The trick you got to learn when you start doing that kind of stuff is to not have anybody notice you did it. Like I've seen those kind of jobs where I'm like, holy smokes, did they Photoshop this person? You see it all the time with the celebrities, you know, especially probably older ones, not even older ones, just in general. You look at them, you go, oh my God, they've been Photoshopped within an inch of their life. And there's some celebrity, I can't remember who it is. I was talking to my girlfriend about this a while back. I'll have to think of who it is. You absolutely never see this celebrity without being Photoshopped within an inch of their life. It's really weird. And then I look at that and I go, God, that they must like contract that into everybody they deal with, where it's like, you know, I have to approve the photo or it's going to their people. That's my guess. But it's a super obvious Photoshop job where they're just knocking 20 years off their life with a bunch of airbrushing. And it looks super weird.
It happens a lot with the Kardashians.
Yeah. That's a good example. And also there was an interest, you could probably find it. Okay, so this is what's interesting to me about this is it was a few years ago when they showed an original picture of the picture they used on cover of some magazine. I can't remember what the magazine was, of Britney Spears. Okay. And then they show what the original photo was like. You actually should look at it because it's kind of interesting because the original photo doesn't look that great. And then they not only just Photoshopped her to death, and I'm not knocking that, by the way. I know you got to make images look good and everything, but they even went in and really majorly resculpted her body. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, gave her more hips or something. I can't remember now. That's where it starts to get a little weird. I mean, I understand that it's all just image making. And by the way, if you buy a watch or if you go look at a watch online, it's been Photoshopped within an inch of its life. Almost any product you see, and I keep saying this in all my classes, photography and there's a place now in image making that's been created out of all this digital tools, which is it's not photography and it's not illustration. It's somewhere in between. Does that make sense? Yeah. So a lot of what you see, I'd say almost everything that you see that's been created by a professional company or whatever, it's usually not very representative. And I'm not knocking this. Again, you want to make your product look as good as you can. So they just clean it up within an inch of their life, okay? And I'd argue that probably there's, because some of the before pictures I've seen of like celebrities that they've done that with, you go, that's not that great a picture. And it used to be like photographers, and it still is the good photographers. You know, the photographer would capture a lot of that in camera because they're very good at photography, okay? But now some guy like me who's not a great photographer, I can go take a picture and make it look pretty good because I Photoshop the hell out of it. So it probably is a lot of like, don't pay a bunch of money. I've actually been on these kind of things. Don't pay a bunch of money for the photography because we'll just give it to the art department and they'll just Photoshop it to death and make it look cool. I don't think that's cool personally, but that's what a lot of people do. Okay. All right. So we started cleaning that up. See how much cleaner it looks? Now we have an advantage here. I'm going to do something here. See this lens? You guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get I want to save that. If you notice, that's the only thing that's color in this photo, right? Yes.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do myself a favor here. I'm going to take advantage of that. So I'm going to get my marquee tool, this round one. And here's a little trick that will really help you. If you try and select this with the marquee tool, it's going to be almost impossible. But if I hold the shift, I can move it and I can line it all up. So let's just say that's good enough. Well, let's go a little further in actually. I'm going to try and get this kind of lined up. And let's just say that's good enough. And I'm going to go Command C, Command V. And it pasted it right back on top of it. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my camera layer. And okay, can you guys see how there's a lot of blue light on this side and this side is going warmer? Can you see that?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't like that because that's a temperature shift. Now, normally if this is, there was a lot of color in this, I couldn't do this, but since it's black and white, I can. And now if I turn this layer off, you can see I saved that lens, right? Because I'm going to play with that later. And I'm going to go back to my camera layer and I'm going to go back up to my adjustments. These are the three things we talked about I keep thinking last week. I woke up this morning, I think it was Monday. And I'm going to go to Hue Saturation. And I'm just going to pull the saturation slider all the way to the left and just take all the color out of this. So now that temperature shift is gone. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So now I don't have that problem anymore because it'd be a lot harder if there was a lot of color in this. And then I'm going to go, this light over here is just way too much. And by the way, I'd go along and I'd clean this up a little bit, trying to get so what I'm trying to do is get this to look a little more new. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, here's a weird thing with it's not weird, but it might seem weird at first. I'm going to, instead of going through here and cleaning, see all this schmutz right here, all this dirt in here? You guys see that? I don't want to really, everybody sees that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't really want to spend a bunch of time cleaning that up. So I'm going to start doing a couple of things with my overlays. Okay. So I'm going to select it. And again, probably not going to come all the way out here. So I'm not too worried. When you make these selections, don't worry about every little divot in here. Just kind of get it. I'm going to go around this screw. And then again, I'm going to go over to my pass, command, click the thumbnail, and I get a selection. And then I'm going to go through here and go back to my, where is it? Where'd my grayscale go? Oh, sorry, right here. And I'm going to grab another, a little lighter probably, maybe even there. I'm just grabbing a gray. Now, the reason I'm grabbing a gray is because now I've reduced this to black and white. So I can, I'm going to use multiply for this. And multiply does a lot of things with black and white, and you'll see how, as we keep going, the things we can do with it. So I'm going to go, this side is blown out anyway. Actually, let me do this real quick. I want to make a quick, better selection than this because I actually just realized I do need to go a little further over. So I'm going to go back to my pen tool, make a quick selection here. And my selection, again, is not going to be perfect, but I'm trying to do this quick. I'm going to go all the way over here. And here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to close this path and I'm going to take this one. So I'm making a mask or a path. And you can see right here, it'll take both. And now I'm going to do the same thing, command click. Now I got both of them selected. because I want what I'm going to do to pass through both. Then I'm going to go back over to my gradient tool. I'm going to switch it back to color to transparent. Now it's gray to transparent. And I'm going to go grab my gradient and I'm just going to hold shift and pull that over. And let's see if that's enough. Oh, I want to put that on another layer. Sorry. I want to make a new layer. You're going to make a lot of layers in this. So make sure you name them. I'm going to go right gradient. And now I'm going to pull this over that. That's probably enough. I'm going to deselect it. And I'm going to go to my overlay right here and go to multiply. See how that kind of cleaned it up a little bit and knocked back some of the light?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so again, all these layers do different things. There's a lot of cool things you can do with grayscales and blacks and things like, or white with multiply. So this is a black and white thing. So we can use grayscale to do some of this stuff. Okay. And in your palette or in your swatches, it's got its own folder, grayscale. And then I'm going to see if I can do some of that here where it's blown out right here. So let's go here. Again, I'll probably be a little sloppy here. Yeah, I'm being a little sloppy, but I'm just going to let it go. Get my corner tool, tighten that up. I'm going to just do this first. Let's see if we can just do this. Oops. Now I'm going to do this, try the same trick here. I'm going to get a new layer. Right side. And then I'm going to grab this again and go, got that. And now I'm going to go to my multiply again. Yeah, and it knocked it back quite a bit. See that?
Yeah.
Now I got this little sliver up here. I would never do that. Okay, that's sloppy as hell. But I'm just doing it. Okay, and then I would do the same thing probably right here where it's really blown out. And maybe even a little here. Because I want to control this image. Does that make sense? Because whoever took this, and by the way, sometimes it's in, I mean, I come from like a lot of different design things. And there's times where, even if I was doing product design or something, you know, there's a lot of times I had to fix photos for whatever reason, for some reason. Okay. Might be that I'm taking something into a presentation I'm doing and it's a bad photo and I've got to make it look good. Does that make sense?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
if you guys, by the time you're done with this class, I expect you guys, when you do your, if you have, you know, in whatever context you're putting a biopic up, I expect you to go in Photoshop and make it look nice and pro. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like
have a question.
never put a snapshot of yourself up if you're going like, if it's your website and you're like there, I'll give you a good example of this. A woman who worked for me, who we're very good friends now. There was a point where I told her, I go, I want you to start looking for another job because you need to go make more money. And I brought you in here to mentor you and then put you out in the world so you can make more money. And it's time for you to go. So she started going out and interviewing and all that stuff. And I always kept up on, you know, she's going to work for me until she found a new job. So I was always going, what'd they say? What'd they do? You know, whatever. Cause I wanted to find a good job. And so she came back and she goes, hey, this company, she's really excited about it. And she goes, I think, and I don't know how she knew this, but she goes, it's down between me and one other person. Maybe they told her, I don't know. They don't usually do that though. But anyway, they did. And I go, well, who's the other person? And she goes, it's this. And she knew who it was. I don't know how she knew all this stuff, by the way. And I go, well, let's take a look at it. And we went to her website. She had a nice website. You went in, and by the way, you can do this wrong too. You went onto a website. It was the splash page, you know, the top part of the thing was an image of her. And it was a really good image of her. It felt casual. It looked professional. And I know she did it herself. She just photoshopped it really nice. And it wasn't trying too hard to be cool. It wasn't any of that kind of stuff. And then it said, I don't know, about me or something like that, or what, however she worded it. And then it had a really smart bio. I mean, it looked pro. And then it's like, go to her work. You know what I mean? And then when you went to her contact, it didn't say contact. It said, I forgot what it said. It said, hey, you're cool. Let's stay in touch, or something like that. Everything about it was like really well put together and clever and fun. And then I looked at her work and I go, here's the thing. I go, she's going to get the job, and not because her work's better than yours, because her work wasn't better than her. I go, you have no branding. And this girl just pitched herself like, hey, I'm the person for your team. Does that make sense? Yeah.
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 And it's something you need to think about. It's professionalism. Okay. Because sometimes you're not losing the job because you're not good enough for the job. Sometimes you're the best person for the job, but it's image, and especially in 2021. Okay. I don't like that, but it's part, and I don't mind it when it's, and this person was a good designer. I don't mind it when it's coupled with good design. I think that's great. Like, pitch yourself. And again, when people are hiring you, what they're doing, at least for me, they've already seen your portfolio. They've already seen that stuff. Now they want to know, are you going to fit into their team? Are you cool? Are you fun? Or are you a big sad sack? Are you a big political rabble rouser who's going to be talking about that all the time? No, they want somebody who's cool, comes to work, and they're fun to be around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the new thing that they ask is for your Instagram handle now too. And they'll
Well,
see,
here's the
like,
thing
how
about
you
that.
present
Here's the
yourself.
thing about that too. You got to be careful what you put out there in the world, social media wise.
Mhm.
I don't understand why people don't understand that, but like, I know, I can't tell you how many people just recently they'll go, hey, they're hiring or something, and they'll go, they were going to pull somebody in for an interview, and then they go look at their Facebook page or whatever, and there's 100 pictures of them partying, drunk out of their mind, all that kind of stuff, and they're like, you're out. You know what I mean? They're not going to do that. And some people don't care, but they do care, because they go, oh, you got a partying lifestyle. That means I'm going to get a lot of sick call-ins because you're hungover.
Yeah.
Or you want to go to Coachella for 5 days or whatever. And, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they are making that judgment call. So if you look at my social media, I'm pretty neutral. I just put work out there. I don't talk about politics.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to, I'm not looking for a job right now, but it's just in general. My point of view is nobody cares about my politics,
Yeah.
because nobody does. Nobody cares about Mike Sheehan's politics. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody cares. I'll put things in there. And I had somebody one time, and they go, well, one time you had a picture of your cabin in there. That's personal. And I go, no, I'm a plein air painter. And that fits into my plein air painting personality and my image creation of, I mean, it's true, but people like that you live in the forest and you paint that kind of stuff, and it's all part of the trip. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I don't sit around and go, I don't know, any deep personal stuff. Okay. But I mean, that's up to you, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we
Professor,
understand? Go ahead.
I have a little question. When you made the modification to cleaning that camera, in the past one between the lens and the body,
Here?
Yeah.
What about it?
So kind of problem, that kind of line you see between the lens, that line
Here
you use for the border between the other one to the right
This
side.
one?
No, but down in the body, right there. That kind of line, you create that kind of line, white line.
Here?
The other one, right side.
This one?
That one.
That's actually there.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking that you create that when you make the selection.
Let me see. Yeah, it might be, because I made a sloppy selection. So no, I
Okay.
wouldn't do that.
Got it.
One thing I want you guys to understand is that I don't want to sit here and do this demo for 2 hours, because you guys will be snoozing. I'm trying to do, so just know that whenever I'm making a selection, I expect you to make a clean selection. Does that make sense?
Right. Okay.
Now, now another thing is I might go, I don't think this is the right value. Let's say, I think it should be a little darker. Now I can just go up to here where we talked about to my adjustments, and now I'm going to do levels. And I'm just going to go, I want to go to the mid value one, and I'm just going to go, maybe it should be a little darker, like maybe about there. Or I can pull it in on the dark or the lighter end. I can adjust it here, darker or lighter. I don't want to get it so dark I blow out the texture in here. And now I'm going to show you a little trick here, you guys. So remember we talked about this adjustment hue saturation thing? Do you guys remember that?
Right.
Samantha?
I was writing what you said previously.
I'll put the zoom up.
Yeah.
No, but I
I
mean, if
just
you want to
like
make notes,
looking at my
if you want to
notes.
make notes about things, I get it.
It's faster for me to just look at
Yeah,
it.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, but look, but we remember this window, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
here's a nice trick.
Yeah.
So remember we can pull up or down the saturation, pull up the light or dark, and we can change the color. So I'm going to go to this lens that I saved. Now here's another little thing you can do with it. And I'm going to go, let's say, because here's what you're going to do later. And I'm just going to put this in so you guys understand what I'm doing. We're going to eventually give this a nice gradient background. Okay. But I'm going to do, let's do a, let's say we have a seamless, if anybody knows what that is, when you take a photo, they have a big sheet of paper or whatever, and it goes up. So it's just a seamless background, just nice and clean, right? Which is what we're going to kind of emulate. So let's put, now number one, it's transparent. So I need to put a white, I'm going to put a white, just a fill in here, just to, so I have something. And then right here, I'm just going to pick a, let's pick a blue. And I'll adjust this. So I'm going to put down this screaming blue, but I'm going to adjust it. So let's get back to our gradient. It goes color to nothing, which is what I want. And now I'm going to go to my hue saturation. I'm going to go, that's way too much. I'm going to desaturate it. Maybe make it a little darker, desaturate it. And then I could roll through here and go, what do I like better? Maybe I like that, or maybe I like that, but I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it the blue. So now I have this, now I'm going to sample this again because this is too much. I'm going to sample the same color. So I'll go to my eyedropper right there, sample that blue. And then I'm going to go, and by the way, I have this auto select layer selected. So anything, we talked about this a while ago. Look at my palette, or look at my, if I click on the background, it jumps over to here. If I click on this, it jumps over to my lens. It just makes it a lot faster. And it's right there. It says auto select layer. It'll also say group, but you want layer. Okay. And you just got to click it and it'll do that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what I want to do is go, I want to pull this lens now. This lens actually works fine, but I'm just going to change it. So if I want to change this globally on here, I can go click, I can go up to the same palette, hue saturation, but now I can click this little button called colorize, and it's just going to shift it to whatever the foreground color is. So I'm going to go pink, and see how it changed it to that blue? Because now I can say, and I'm going to saturate it a little bit. Now I can say it's reflecting some of that blue around the room. And then maybe I might go, and I do this all the time. I might go, I want a warm cool. So now I'm going to go back to my hue saturation palette because I don't like it all blue. I want to go, I'm going to go through my hue slider here and go, I like it a little warmer. So maybe I can pull in some sort of more ambery color. So I'm going to go in and I want to find a nice amber, or even this, I could go, now I'm going to go in and go, maybe saturate it a little more. There, that's a little more ambery right there. Then I'm going to saturate it a little bit. And see how it like just gets a nice little color pop. Okay. You know, go ahead.
So when you put colorize, it depends on the hue depends on the foreground color.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So like if I wanted to go, you know, and there's a lot of cases, or like, let's say this dude, this thing we we're doing with this, do I still have it? Yeah, this. Let's say this guy. In this environment, I might want to do, and you'll see this again, this is another thing you'll see all the time. Let's pick a nice, I'm just going to pick like an orangey, you know, sunsetty kind of thing. Wait, let's show, we could do something like this. Let's take everything behind him. If you guys remember, we have this little flyout menu. I just picked all those layers. I'm going to go merge layers. So now they're all there, and I'm going to go, let's go, wait, let me do it one more time because I want to save the type. I'm going to go everything below him just for the sake of speed. Then I flattened it, and I'm going to go, turn this off for now. I'm going to, let's say this background becomes the blue. So I'm going to go, let's go to the background. Yeah, we're on the background. So I'm going to go to my hue saturation, and I'm going to click the little colorize. I'm going to adjust it. And then this guy, I'm going to make him sort of a sunsetty, deserty. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go here. I'm going to click this. And now I've got a monochromatic where he feels a little more like a sepia tone or something like that. Does that make sense?
Right.
Another thing you see in movie posters constantly. By the way, I'm not knocking those things. Okay, so let's go here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It kind of depends on the layer, right?
Depends on the color.
I see.
I mean, you have to be on the layer you want to change, but you know. Okay, and then, okay, so let's say I've gone through here. I'd probably do the same thing over here. I might come in here because I really don't like this. When you get a harsh shadow like that, it's harsh. It's harsh in my buzz, Irene.
Your coffee buzz?
Yeah. Yeah, let's just say coffee. So maybe I'll come in here, make a selection again, go to my work path, command click the thumbnail, boom. And maybe I'll just take, because this texture is pretty random. So I'm going to take my eyedropper tool, go a little bigger, got a soft edge there. Sometimes the soft edge will be too soft and you got to dial it in, okay? And it's on 58%, that's probably fine. I'm going to grab some of this over here and start painting this into here because I don't like that harsh shadow. Harsh shadows usually look pretty amateurish. And then look, it's getting blurry, so I'm going to kind of make sure I stamp some of that in there a little bit. I don't want it all fuzzy looking. And I'd go in here and blah, 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 right? And get rid of that harsh shadow. That's a sloppy job, but you guys get the point. You guys do get the point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now here's another little thing. Now you can go down the rabbit hole on this for about 100 years, just cleaning this kind of stuff up. I actually, once in a while, I kind of like it because it's mindless. Like sometimes when I was putting together a presentation or whatever I'd be doing this for, I just take it home and do it in front of the TV because it's mindless. It's like putting a puzzle together. Now, remember this tool here, the burn tool that makes things darker? Yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so remember up here, wow, why is it? That's not the tool I want. I'm going to get a regular brush. Again, remember, this is now selected this, which is a smudge brush. So that's not going to work for this. So I got to change this to a, I'll just change it to a round. Oh, wait a minute. What am I on? Oh, I'm on smudge. That's why it's doing that. So let's go back here to burn right here. Burn tool makes things darker, but it can tell. So see this Pentax logo?
Right.
It is sitting, it's a dark color or dark value against a very light value. So Photoshop, when you have those kind of big contrast leaps, Photoshop can read it really simple, like how it separates. So I'm going to tell this right here, I'm going to go, I think it's shadows to affect the shadow, right? So let's go right here. And see how it just cleaned that up? It darkened it up. Makes a huge difference. Okay, that's just partly, it's partly that it's worn and it's partly that the camera or again, he used a flash and he blew it out. Okay. Now I can do the same thing with this little rubber grommet right here. Oops, I went over. And you can dial it in right here under exposure. How much of this do you want? Is that too dark? Then I back it off. That just cleans that up a little bit. That's a little dark, but that's okay. Now over here, it can't read it as much. So you can see it's it's going outside of it. Okay. So I'd have to go in and just dial that in a little more. But look at the difference between this and this now. This now looks very old and blown out. Does that make sense? And, you know, so, and then I'm going to come through here. I might knock this down. I might see. Yeah, well, let's see if we can do it with the highlight. So I'm going to change this burn tool to highlights because this is a highlight. And just kind of knock it down a little bit. I don't want to overdo that because it'll start getting muddy. So I might have to make a selection here to do that. And I just want to knock that down so it's not quite so blown out. And then I might go in, that's a little bit. See how much that looks better? Like when you knock down that highlight where it's cleaner, where it's not going bang and it's going where you can see there was a flash too close. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what am I doing here? I'm making decisions as to what tool to use based on what I need to get done. Does that make sense? And that's what we have to start doing now. These tools, I think you guys can see, aren't that hard to use. It's how you combine them. Does that make sense?
Right.
And as we go along, after I'd say within 3 weeks or so, all this stuff's going to seem pretty simple to you. And we're just going to start adding things onto it. Okay. But what I want you to understand is these tools individually aren't that hard to use. Okay. Most of them. It's just how you use them. Okay. Now I'm going to say that that's fine. Okay. Now I'll show you guys a couple other things when we come back on Monday, because I don't want to fill up too much of this. And you can do this part of it on Monday if you forget how to do it. But remember how we just did that gradient where it blended it out and I made that reflection with a cowboy?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to take this. I can click it because remember you can option drag and you copy things, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a bunch of programs, not just this one. So I'm just the way I do, or I could do it this way. Look, I can go, let's pull this over here so I don't lose it in Zoom. I'm going to grab this image, this layer, because I want to duplicate it. And I'm going to drag it right down on my layer creation thing, and it makes a new one. And I'm going to put it underneath it. And then remember our edit right here where we can go to distort, and we can, all our transform tools are under there. Our perspective tool, all that stuff, right?
Right.
Okay. So what I'm going to do here is just go, so we could scale it, rotate it, just skew it, distort it, the perspective one, which we used earlier, and warp I'll get into later. So I'm going to go flip vertical. So now I've got a vertical version of it, and I'm going to pull it down here. Okay, and normally I would go in, because the lens isn't going to line up right, I would go in and fix that. I'm not going to make you guys do that. And then I'm going to go, okay, so look. This side is following the perspective, so it doesn't line up. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do is go back to the same tool, edit, transform, only now I'm going to go to skew, and I'm going to drag this side down so it's just kissing the other end. And I'm going to drag this up, because all skew does is it literally just does this or this. Okay. And I'm going to go, okay, let's say that. Now I would never leave the lens like that, but for now it's fine. And then I'm going to go back here to my gradient or my layer mask right here, just like we did a little while ago. And then I'm going to go to my gradient. I'm going to make sure it's on black and white right there, which is under the basics folder. And I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to click and drag up. And now I got my little reflection. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's do one more thing. Now I'm going to take it. I'm going to make another copy of this, whatever you call it. Actually, let's not even do it that way. Let's do it this way. I'm going to make a, between the reflection and the camera, I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm just going to take a whatever you call it, a brush, fairly soft brush, make it a little bigger and change it to, I'll just use black for this. Usually I'll use I like to have color in the shadows, but for this, it's fine. And I'll just click, I'll hold shift. And I'll just kind of, and I'm going to come up here. Okay, so this is just your first filter thing. And the only reason I'm cool showing you this is because it's totally simple. If we go into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, I'm just going to blur, and it's just a dragging of a drag bar. That's all it is. And I'm just going to go, that's too soft. I want to go, I'm going to dial in that shadow a little bit. And then I'm going to go to my reflection a little bit and knock it down. And I'm going to knock down my shadow a little bit because I don't like my shadow, but that's fine. And we've cleaned it up pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. It looks a lot better than that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's as far as I want you to go with it. And because we meet 2 days a week, it's not too bad. You know, if you have some problem with like the reflection or something like that, that's what we'll come in on Monday and we'll go over that, whatever you're having problems with. Does that make sense?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? Well, that's good.
Our assignment for Monday, right?
Yeah. I'll put it up and I'll just put it up under camera retouch. Go ahead.
Sorry. The assignment, it's a possible.
It's what?
The assignment, it's a possible to write down the details so we can follow the requirement.
This video will be on YouTube.
Okay.
If I tried to write down these assignments, you'd never learn anything because that would start coming back to a step-by-step, and step-by-steps don't work. What I'm starting to show you now is we're starting to put the tools into place to do something. So there's got to be some decision-making going on. Then you'll start understanding these tools. You'll put those in your toolbox and we'll keep adding to them. And then we'll do another project. This is an exercise, it's a 10-pointer. Then we'll do a project that's a 100-pointer where you have to really start making decisions, start creating imagery. I know from my experience when I was learning this stuff, step-by-steps don't work. They might work to show you how a tool works or whatever, but then you just go, okay, I know step-by-step how to do that. Now, if I have to make a decision to do that, I don't know what to do because I just know how to go step-by-step by step. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay.
But I always put the video online so you can always go back and go, oh, that's how that happened. And it's more in depth because I'm talking more in depth about each tool and why I'm using it. Okay.
Right. Probably
Go ahead.
The reflection in another direction, right? Probably we can use another perspective to make the reflection in other direction, right?
Well, you can change this in 100,000 ways.
Cool.
You know what I mean? I mean, all these tools, by the way, we're just getting the kind of basic tool set under our hands. And then like I said, we'll just keep adding on to it and get more and more. And it's not even more and more complex. It's just you're adding more tools into it, but you're adding those tools to hopefully a functioning base tool set that you understand. Yeah.
Thank you.
Irene.
Does
that make sense?
Yeah.
Where are you?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. It's Windows weird. What's that image?
What image?
Your avatar or whatever.
Oh, it's Mucha.
Muka.
Muka. I always forget if it's Mucha or Muka, but
Muka.
Alphonse. Yeah, Muka.
Alphonse Muka, yeah. What else? Okay, so everybody's kind of getting that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I've added in here really is that I showed you how to globally change a color under the hue saturation. And I don't know that I've showed you that much more. It's basically what we've been talking about. Okay. And it's good. I like to assign this like today, because now you have till Monday to get it done. Right. So, and here, by the way, you guys, if you sit down and you go, I'm going to go do this whole thing tomorrow at 2. I would just start working on it like tomorrow. And then when you kind of exhaust it a little bit, then come back to it. It's, you know what I mean? Because sometimes when you're learning this stuff, it gets a little bit frustrating when you're trying to work the whole thing all at once. I just think sometimes it's a little better doing steps. Now, having said that, most of the time, everybody comes back and I go, anybody have a problem? They go, no. And I always think they do, because when I learned this stuff, I did. And most of the time you guys don't. But understand that I'm expecting you, or not expecting you, but I know that probably you'll come back and you go, I had a problem with this or that. Does that make sense? That's why it's an exercise. It's not me just coming in and critting it. I have to find out where you had problems. And by you ask or coming in with the problem that you had, you're probably answering it for a lot of other people too. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we know what we're doing for Monday, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though today feels like Monday to me. And we're going to want to end up with a nice, cleaned up. Now, if I put this on eBay, it'd be deceptive, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever sells, right?
Huh?
Whatever sells, right?
Yeah, up to a point. I couldn't do this. I mean, it's too beat up. But if I do, and I think I put something on eBay once, I at least clean up the image so it looks nice. You know what I mean? I don't get rid of things that are going to be deceptive, but I almost never put anything out in the world that hasn't been somehow touched to kind of tweak it a little bit. You know what I mean? And it might just be the photo, the filters on Instagram or something, because those filters are actually really good. And those aren't things, I mean, they wouldn't be good for like professional photo editing, but they're great for what they are. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Right.
Okay, guys. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I don't think there is. No, I don't think there is. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go. If you have any problems, contact me. Yes.
I have Professor Chen. I have a question for you. I sent an email past Monday to you because for a reason I got confused with the past assignment and I didn't do on time. I posted last night into the Canvas. I am not sure.
It's on Canvas?
Yeah, because
I'll look at it. I'm okay. Yeah, get things in on time.
Right, I know. Because I have a question, but I am not sure it takes a little bit long to answer.
No,
When
what is it?
I did a selection.
Yeah.
And I tried many ways to try to adjust the selection to make that bigger or smaller, and I couldn't.
I don't think with selection. Let me see. Yeah. So when you're making a selection, once you make the selection, it's the selection. You know what I mean? You kind of like the point of, the point of making it is you make the accurate selection and then it's a selection. Does that make sense? Now,
Right. But I can,
if you want to do something like that where you're adjusting it, that's more of a pen tool thing to me. Like,
okay,
make the adjustments while you're creating the pen tool selection or the pen tool work path, because it's a work path when you make it. And then once you make it a selection, it's a selection. Now, the other thing I'd say here is if you make a complex selection, because we talked a little bit about this, but let's say I go, okay, like this lens, I have this lens, I already made the selection, it's on its own layer. So if I want to reselect this lens, I just have to go, make sure it's over here so you see it. I just have to go Command, just like in the paths palette, Command and click the thumbnail and I'll get the selection again.
Right.
If I want to get, like if I make a selection, let's just do this. Let's say I made a complex selection right here. This is not just sitting on its own area, right? So I make a complex selection. If I do whatever I'm going to do and then I deselect that, I have to go do it again. Or, and this is what I do if you guys make any complex selections. We talked about this a little bit, but it's a selection. So I go up under select and I go save selection.
Right. Okay.
I give it a name and I say, okay. And then I go deselect. And then 2 hours later, I go, oh, I need that selection again. I come up here, I go load selection, go to my drop-down menu, and there it is. And I go bink, and I got it again. If it's sitting on its own layer, you don't really need to do that because you can just, like I said, command click the thumbnail and it'll reselect it. But if it's not sitting on its own layer, save complex selections. Okay.
Right.
Because
But-
you're gonna regret it if you don't. And the other problem is sometimes the selection might, it could be a very precise selection. And then if I go back to make that very precise selection again, it might not match it's never going to match my earlier selection. So that's going to screw me up. But if I go back to that save selection, it's going to be the exact same selection that I spent 10 minutes making. I don't want to do that again. Okay.
Right. But it is possible to transform that selection, to make that bigger or smaller, or to,
No.
to turn.
That's why you make the selection and that's it. You do all that while you're making the selection.
Right.
Okay. Now, I'll get into stuff later where there's some things you can do, but I don't want to complicate all this right now. I want you to make accurate selections as you make them. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, you guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll let you guys go.
Bye.
Thank
Bright and
you.
early. Oh, wait a minute. Let me screen grab the room one more time. Oops. Hopefully I'm not missing anybody now.
I think somebody left.
Hopefully I got them earlier.
Professor Mike,
Yeah.
I was also marked absent on Monday.
Okay. Why are all these people marked absent on Monday? What's going on? Who is that?
Christopher Gent.
What time did you get into the classroom?
I got here at 10:30, or probably a little bit before.
On Monday?
Yes.
And Monday was what day?
The first.
The first.
The first, hang on. Because I should have it right here. Oops. It's the wrong one. Hang on. Monday. Here it is. It's Christopher?
Yes.
Chris Santa Ana?
Sorry.
What's
No,
the-
that's Chris Jen.
Oh, Jen. Okay. Hang on, I'm looking through these. Damn it. Oh, there you are. Yep, I missed you. I'll add you in.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for telling me that, by the way, because I do miss them sometimes.
Cool.
I try to go through them methodically, but sometimes again, I just do weird. My brain does weird stuff. Okay, you guys.
If after class we need to talk with you, we can send an email to you, right? It's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because I sent, but probably you didn't have the option to check that one. Okay.
I try and sit down. I'm trying to sit down on my days in between and go through all that stuff. So I'll try and get more in a rhythm of it.
I got it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys. I'll see you on Monday.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey.
Happy weekend.